Alright, what is up guys? VV back with another card review video. This time on some OP04 green cards. So, let's get right into it. First up we got Viola, who is a 3-cost, 3,000 power, 2,000 counter, Don Quixote Pirates green character. Effect on your opponent's turn. Okay, already very interesting. On your opponent's turn, pay 2, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. Okay, that could be very relevant, of course. On your opponent's attack, excuse me. On your opponent's, I was going to say, wait a minute. On your opponent's turn, it's on your opponent's attack, pay 2, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. I think she's really just the 2K counter. I don't see you playing her a 3-cost 3K and, you know, because I think she can also be played around pretty easily if you're trying to do that effect. If they see like, okay, so as soon as I attack, she can do that, they're either going to A, remove her right away if they can, or B, they're going to spend all their Dawn up front, and now it's a dead card and it's just a 3K body. I'm going to go with this card is a 2K counter, and for that it's a 7 out of 10. Nice looking art. Okay, Eric, 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. Okay, East Blue green character. Activate main. You may rest this character. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. This seems like a very redundant type of card. Like, I don't care about their 1 cost, typically speaking, right? There are exceptions to that with, I believe it's Makino, who can tap someone down or rest them. Or no, excuse me. She rests. That was like a Freudian slip. I'm reading what this guy does. She rests to give one of your characters plus 3,000. But that's also on a 2K counter body. This card, Eric, though, 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1,000 counter. For the same cost, you're looking at your standard, your average costed searcher. But with this effect... now, it is true that you can lower the cost of characters, potentially, right? Because it's with a cost of 1 or less. You could potentially lower the cost of a character if you splash this in a black-green Isho deck. But generally speaking, I don't think this card's very good. I would say that this card is below average. I would rather have a 1-cost 3K, 1K counter, just average vanilla card than this. So I'm going to put it at a 4 out of 10. I don't think it's unplayable, but it's also not something I'd want to play. I guess we'll put it that way. Okay, we got Kuro. 6 cost, 8,000 power, 1,000 counter, green, East Blue, Black Cat Pirates character. This is your vanilla, 5 out of 10. Solid. Sugar. 2 cost, 0 power, 1,000 counter. Okay. I expected 2,000 counter there right away when I saw that stat line and the way this picture looks. I don't know why. But nope, this is 1,000 counter. It is a Don Quixote Pirates green character. Effect. Opponent's turn. I like this opponent stuff going on here. Opponent's turn. On your opponent's attack. I do like stuff like that. I do hope we see more of that. I think it adds to the complexity and the dimensionality of the game. So once per turn, when your opponent plays a character, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters. Then rest this character. That says rest up to one of your opponent's characters, period. like any of them. When your opponent plays a character, rest up to one of your opponent's characters. Then rest this character. And she has on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Excuse me. So I think this is a very powerful card. How easy is it going to be to keep her on the board? That becomes the real question. Because you do have to rest this character to get her opponent's turn effect. So now it's time for her to smash that, get smashed by one of her characters or leader, right? And it cannot target leaders. So I mean, I think it's still a very powerful effect. I'm going to go 7.5 out of 10. This is a very nice addition to any deck, because even if it's in your hand late in the game where you think, oh, it's kind of dead, it's probably not dead actually late in the game, because even her one effect could tap down like a, Charlotte Linlin, the 10 cost Big Mom, So I think I have to go with 8 out of 10. I think this is actually an 8 out of 10. As far as the control element goes, probably overall a 7.5 out of 10, but the control element of it does kind of push into the 8 out of 10 range in my personal opinion. And it almost acts as a pseudo blocker in that case too, right? Because when they play a character, then you're going to rest something, which allows you to swing into it next turn, and for them to swing into her. So there's a lot going on. And they can play around it a little bit by swinging first, because, you see how it works. It's once per turn, opponent's turn, once per turn, when your opponent plays a character. So they could just not play a character, do all their actions, and then play the character at the end. But then that means, that she's safe. So who knows? I do think this is pretty good. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 with this. Okay, that parallel art is awesome. Okay, Giola, whatever. 4 cost, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter. So right away, we're 2,000 under the curve. Don Quixote Pirates green character. On your opponent's attack, here's another one of these. Pay 2. Did the other one have a cost to it? No, it was just once per turn. On your opponent's attack, pay 2. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So this is, again, playing into the control aspect of green. Excuse me. On your opponent's attack, pay 2. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Well, I mean, that's pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That's pretty strong. But will it see play? I don't know. In One Piece, let me say it like this. Control decks in One Piece typically don't look like this. The effects don't look like this in those decks. So who knows? In the future, that might be a thing with One Piece. Like maybe this will contribute to a very strong control deck in the future. But as is, I would consider this card average at 5 out of 10, because it's losing 2,000 power, but it still has 1,000 counter. But it does have an effect that literally just rests one of your opponent's characters that's a 4 or less, and she is a 4, so it's going to be around the same relevant time period. And yeah, against certain decks though, this card feels absolutely dead. I'm gonna have to go with a 4 out of 10. I'm gonna have to go with a 4 out of 10 with this card. Sorry guys. Senor Pink, 3 cost, 5,000 power, no counter. Don Quixote Pirates green character. Effect: when attacking, pay 1. If your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. If your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Then set up to one of your Don cards as active at the end of this turn. That'll be a little bit to remember, won't it? That is interesting. Okay. Let's see. When attacking, pay 1. That's not a horrible investment. It's just 1. And if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Then set it to one of your Don cards as active at the end of this turn. And is this playing into... I'm sorry, guys. We do have to go to the leaders real quick. Okay, yeah. It's playing into the new purple-green Don Quixote Doflamingo Pirates idea, where you're going to be able to... set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active at the end of the turn. So this card, sorry for all the flipping through, guys. This will set another card as active. Typically, all you're going to need is 2, but I know there's some bigger events you can play. In fact, I think we're going to go over one in this reveal, or in this card review. So I don't think this is bad. It's at least average, because it's a 3 cost 5k. That's right on par, and you're losing the 1,000 counter for this effect, which, yeah, you're paying 1 Dawn up front, but you're kind of getting it back at the end of the turn. And if your leader has the type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. It's when attacking. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I don't think this is out of control, but I do think this is a nice 6 out of 10 card here. Could be wrong. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments below if you think I'm crazy about that one. Okay, Daddy Masterson. Okay, we got 4 costs, 5K, no counter. East Blue, former Navy, green character card here. That dude's got a lot of pistols, man. Check out this guy. He looks really cool. Dawn, ×1, end of your turn, set this character as active. Okay. So this seems like it's more in line with the black and green Isho leader deck, where you're setting cards as active. Because, okay, you're putting 1 Dawn on them, so they're swinging for 6K. That, first of all, that's solid. You know, we can't complain too much about that. And then at the end of the turn, he's standing up where they can't attack him. At least not normally, right? They won't be able to swing into it, him rested. I think this is a little better than average. I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. Diamante. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1,000 counter. Okay. We already know what that means. Now, like that's a very good baseline effect there, or baseline stats. And he's only missing 1,000 power. Let's see how they make up for it. Don Quixote Pirates, green character. He is a blocker. And he has Dawn ×1, end of your turn. If you have 2 or more active Dawn cards, set this character as active. Well, end of your turn, if you have 1 Dawn attached to this guy, you're going to have 2 or more Dawn cards set. If you have 2 or more active Dawn cards, you're going to, from the Don Quixote's effect, the Doflamingo. Yeah, that should work. That's probably the interaction they're going for, because he is a Don Quixote Pirates. Yeah, so that seems really good. As long as you swing for 7 with him, then he stands up on your turn and is a blocker. This is excellent. You know, this is very good. Yeah, this card's excellent. I'm going to go with a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10. He is really, really nice card. This is a very high value card. And here's the parallel art for it. Okay, I don't know. They're both around the same for me. Very cool. Okay, Dellinger. Instead of Dillinger, it's like Dellinger. 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1,000 counter. Don Quixote Pirates, green character. End of your turn, set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. Okay, so they're trying to get a bunch of your Dawn cards as active at the end of the turn, so I do expect an effect that's going to be an event card that is going to be very big in this set. Okay, other than that, it's 1,000 power off of your average vanilla. I don't think this end of turn effect justifies that personally. Well, it at least breaks even with it, so I'm going to go 5 out of 10 with this card. Nothing I'd really want to play. And it's at 4,000 power. It's not even at the 5,000 power first threshold you want to hit to start taking out, or start hitting leaders. Treble, 5 cost, 6,000 power. Don Quixote Pirates, green character here. Effect, on play, KO up to 1 of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. That's very strong. On your opponent's attack, pay 2. Rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So he's coming into play and KOing something that's rested with a cost of 5 or less. And then on your opponent's turn, he's resting for the cost for 2 Don. And you know, this is a Don Quixote Pirates. So realistically, you'd want him in the purple-green Dofi deck, right? Okay, you're going to pay 2 with the Dawn that came on, that became active at the end of your turn. On your opponent's attack, you're going to be able to pay 2 and rest out 1 of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less. Yeah, this is nice. This is a pretty nice, pretty well-rounded card. Now, those 2 abilities are strong, but he is losing 2,000 power and 1,000 counter. But he is at the 6,000 power point where they're going to have to invest a 2K counter into stopping his attacks if you choose to attack with him. So, very... very well-rounded card. I'm going to give this, I guess I'm going to finish it out with a 6 out of 10, right? He's got 6 cost, 6,000 power. We're going to give him a 6 out of 10. I think this card is pretty good, but no counter, and he is a 6 cost, so, he's up there battling with the spots of the card we just saw, the Diamante. Trafalgar Laws. You know, he's up in that range of cards he has to conflict with. Now, yeah, I know those are 5 costs and he's 6 costs, but I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. You can only have so many big cost cards in the deck. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10 because the on-play effect is really nice and the on your opponent's attack effect is potentially good. So I could be wrong. Oh, nice. Here's an alternate art. You guys say what y'all think in the comments below about this guy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe he's like really good and I'm underselling him. Oh, here we go. Don Quixote do Flamingo. 10 costs, 10k. Green, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Pirates character. Effect on play up to a total of 3 of your opponent's rested leader and character cards will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. Whew. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's really strong, guys. Like this is this is really powerful here. He's a 10 cost 10k, so he's already hard to deal with. You know, that's a lot on the board to deal with. And he is going to, if your opponent, this is a good tempo shift style card where like let's just say your opponent's swinging at you and you're taking a lot of damage here. You're down to maybe 1 or 2 life cards left in your life pool, and then you know you plop this guy down, and hey, that guy, and that guy, and maybe even your leader's one of them. Maybe their leader might be one of them. Yeah, those 3 cards are not becoming active in the next refresh phase. That can be a game-changing effect right there to get you back in the game. I'm going to give this card a 9.5 out of 10. It's a 10 cost, 10,000 power card. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Excuse me, a 9 out of 10. And here's why. Of course, it doesn't have a counter at this high cost. Typically speaking, I don't think we've seen a single 9 or 10 cost card with a counter. So this is a 10 cost, 10,000 power. So you're missing 2,000 power from a 10 cost. You know, it should be a 10 cost, 12,000 power with a 1,000 counter if it were theoretically a vanilla card. Well, the effect you're getting is extremely powerful. So it's putting it well above average. But I do have to be nitpicking. I have to be very critical of these. I want to give it a 10, right? But just trying to be critical. No counter, of course. And it is more of a reactionary card. So if you're playing against a deck that's very defensive, a deck that, you know, like in this set, we're going to see Rebecca, right? In OP04, we're going to see Rebecca. Well, if you play this card against that deck, if you chose their Luffy, the 7 cost Luffy, we haven't gone over that yet, but that's a card that can stand on its own. It like negates this card's effect, and they're not going to swing with anything else realistically. Maybe a Cavendish or something, or maybe a Kyros, you know. But the point is, it's very reactionary. Where it's like if they don't have anything tapped down and you play this card, he's just a 10 cost 10k. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I think this card is excellent, and if I'm playing a deck that has green in it, this is a serious consideration for my 10 drop, no matter what deck I'm playing that has green in it. Alternate art, parallel art, very cool. We got Baby 5 here. 2,000 counter. That's the first thing I saw. 1k power, or 1 cost, 1,000 power. Don Quixote Pirates green character with a 2,000 counter. End of your turn, you may trash this character. Set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. Okay, I can't wait to see what kind of event cards we're going to see here to justify cards like this. Like because we're already getting 2 Dawn by itself, right? Like we're already getting 2 Dawn just for being Don Quixote Pirates with the green purple Doflamingo leader. So, but as is, it's a 2k counter, so it's a 7 out of 10 there. But I'm gonna give it another 0.5 because that effect might be relevant at the end stages of the game where you need extra Dawn while playing your hand out. I'm going to say that this is a 7.5 out of 10. Machvice. 4 costs, 5,000 power, 1,000 counter. This is a green Don Quixote Pirates character, of course. On play, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. Then set it to one of your Dawn is active at the end of this turn. Okay. Seems like it's on par for the course here. This is I'm going to give it a little better than average because it is a 4-cost 5k 1000 power with a decent effect here, and it does pass that first threshold of 5000 power. I'm going with a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10 on this. Lao G, 4-cost 5000 power, same as last guy with a 1000 counter. He is a Don Quixote Pirates green character. Effect, end of your turn. If you have 3 or more active Dawn cards, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. Okay, that's really cool. So that now justifies a lot of the cards we saw that give you an additional Dawn at the end of turn. I think we've seen 3 or 4 of them already, right? 4 costs 5000 power. Now, it does need a cost of 3 or less. So it's good at board cleanup, right? Like if they've got a beige down, if they've got a Nami down, if they've got these little 1 or 2 cost searchers down, it helps clear up the board a little bit. This card is a 7 out of 10. He's nice. He's not, you know, he does require a little bit of setup. You have to have 3 Dawn open, but you're going to have 2 no matter what. So if you just leave 1 Dawn open, you can get this guy's effect fairly easily without really investing too much. And then you have 3 Dawn open to use however you need to with counters on defense. So I think this card is a nice 7 out of 10. Spiderweb, 2 cost, green, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Pirates event. Effect, counter up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 4000 power during this battle. Then set up to one of your characters as active. Trigger, up to one of your leaders gains plus 2000 power during this turn. So the trigger makes where your leader's now going to be a 7000 power for the rest of the turn, which is good. And then the effect is, you know, this is like a 2-cost 4K counter. This is your standard or average 2-cost 4K counter, and instead of being like Punk Gibson that has the potential to rest one of your opponent's characters, this sets up to one of your characters as active. Let's go with, I'm going to give this a nice 7 out of 10. This is solid. 7.5 maybe out of 10. Because obviously, yeah, this allows you to swing with your defenders and then stand them up. So we like this kind of effect. 2 costs. It's well costed. It's everything you need. So 7.5 out of 10. Don Quixote Family. 1 cost. Green Don Quixote Pirates event. Effect, counter. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Don Quixote Pirates type card and add it to your hand. Okay, and then place the rest of the bottom of your deck in the order. Trigger, activate this card's counter effect. So this is just a 1-cost searcher event that's based in counters, and that's based as a counter instead of a main effect. So just, you know, just your everyday average searcher. I'm going to give it like a 6.5 out of 10 since it's a counter instead of a main. If it was a main, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. But as a counter, I'll give it like a 6.5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. So it's a little worse in my opinion because of the timing. But who knows? Because it kind of means you get it for free, right? It's just due to the timing. It's a little awkward, you know, because you're getting the 2 Dawn unrested or set as active at the end of your turn. So I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 or 7. Flapping Thread. 2 cost. Green event. The 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Pirates. Effect. Counter. If your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 2000 power during this turn. Okay. Trigger. KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. Okay. 2 cost. This counter is, again, this is plus 2000 power for the turn for the effect, which is okay. I don't think that's bad, especially if you use it as like your first counter. You know, so if they swing in 4, 5, or 6 to try and get a 2K counter out of your hand, this card's saying like, oh, okay, I'll give you a 2K counter. All right, here you go. Boom. 2 cost, 2K counter, and now it's plus 2000 power for the whole turn. So, you know, I do think this card's kind of decent, actually. I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with the cost of 4 or less is the trigger. We'll take it every time. 7.5 out of 10. Okay, I was hoping something like this would pop up. The weak do not have the right to choose how they die. That is the name of this card. It is a 5-cost main/reaction, or main/counter rather. Green card, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Pirates. Rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards. Then KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 6 or less. So as a main, you can do this, which makes it very... This card has excellent utility. Oh, also, trigger, set up to 5 of your Dawn cards as active. That's kind of nice, right? So say you have this card in your hand, and you're like, oh, man, I don't have enough to play it now. And they take your life cards, then you get it, and they swing again. You can really punish, right? Oh, man, yeah, this is a very, very strong card. It is at 5 Dawn investment. That is big. But it can be used as a main or a counter. Rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards. That doesn't have a cost association. But the KO does. KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 6 or less. And you can, if you need to, rest the 6 or less and then KO the 6 or less with the same effect or the same event. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. This thing, I don't think you want to run like 4 in your deck. 5 is a big cost for an event. But I do think this card is very strong. And I think it can really change the tempo of a game. Because think if they have, let's just say they have 2 6 costs that are unrested, and it's on defense. You have your 5 Dawn open. So they swing in with one of them. You KO him and then rest the other one, right? Or rest the leader, whatever. It doesn't matter. I do think this effect is very powerful. It is a big Dawn investment, but, we'll have to see what happens in the future to see how many cards the Don Quixote Pirates purple-green stuff's going to get to where it can unrest or make Dawn active at the end of your turn. I think that'll really determine the overall power level of a card like this. But overall, like I said, I think this is 8.5 out of 10. Very strong. Okay, Don Quixote Rocinante. This is a secret card. Got the gold border. 8 costs, 8,000 power. Navy, Don Quixote Pirates green character card. Opponent's turn. This is the effect. Opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your active characters with a base cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effects. Okay. With a base cost of 5. So not 5 or less. Okay, that's interesting. So I guess it's looking out for old Trafalgar Law and probably like Diamante. On play, you may rest this character. Play up to 1 green character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. Okay, so it comes into play, throws out a Trafalgar Law or a Diamante, and then rests itself so that those cards cannot be KO'd by effects, which can defend this guy theoretically, and it is ramping you out. This card is very, very. I wanted to say solid. That's my word. This card is very solid. Okay, it is. It has a lot of efficient. For its cost. Yeah, you are losing a 1,000 counter and 2,000 power at that cost, but you're getting these 2 very relevant effects. I think this is a high value card. I think this card is probably an 8 out of 10. It does throw out a 5 cost, which is really incredible, but it literally has to be a 5 cost. Because notice none of these say 5 cost or less. A cost of 5 cannot be KO'd with a cost of 5 from your hand. Unless it's a bad translation, these cards can only be 5 costed. So it is kind of exclusive about that. So I'm going to go with a 5 out of 10, or an 8 out of 10 with this card. Oh, here's a parallel art. And, oh, cool, Trafalgar Law parallel art from, this is from OP01. Okay, and then Don Quixote do Flamingo. Awesome. Well, we'll talk about issue and go to the black cards, of course. So there was a lot of really interesting cards that came out for green. Viola, 2K counter. Not so much this guy. This is just a solid vanilla 5 out of 10 Kuro. Sugar had a lot of potential. We'll see how that card pans out. Joel, not so much. Senor Pink, it depends. This card could be really good because it does have a KO effect on it. Or a rest effect, excuse me. Daddy Masterson, probably the coolest name in the game right there. Daddy Masterson. Daddy Master Son. Very fun name there. I think Diamante is going to be very good. Treble has potential. We'll see what goes on there. I think Don Quixote de Flamingo is excellent, the 10 cost character. Lau was interesting. I thought he was interesting. Spiderweb. The events they got, Flapping Thread, Spiderweb, and the Weak Denied the Right to Choose How They Die. Yeah, those are very good. And then Rocinante. Yeah, I think Green got some good stuff, guys. I think Green got some really good stuff this expansion here, this set. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it. Well, guys, I do appreciate y'all sticking around for this long. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. And until next time, guys, peace.